Good morning. So today we're talking about whether or not you should trust the internet to teach children about sex. I think it's pretty obvious that the answer is no. I don't know, you just stop and think about these things and you can make a logical decision. It's pretty easy to say, no, I'm not going to let the internet teach my kids about sex, just like I'm not going to let the internet teach my kids about money or wealth building. That's another topic for another day, but that's something else that we do a terrible job of educating young people on. People like Rich Dad, Poor Dad that, want to educate people on wealth building and start at a young age. But anyway, that's, again, different topic, different day. So if we're not going to let the internet teach our children about sex, we have to be the ones to do it. Yeah, it's awkward, but it's one of those conversations that you have to have because kids are getting exposed to porn younger and younger. I was watching a TED Talk this morning, and the girl that was giving the TED Talk referenced a study, and I'll try to find information about that study and link it in the description. But basically the study was, they looked at over 200, I think is what she said, videos and movies from like the past 50 years of porn, but the most popular. She said like almost 200 movies that were the most popular for their time and analyzed what was in them, like what are the trends and what's changing over time. Which, is something kind of crazy that Pornhub publishes every year their most trending topics in porn. And it's a little crazy. That's something that is like, if you read through the list, you're kind of like, whoa, that's, it's weird to think that like a lot of people are turned on by whatever certain niche, that they're pointing out. Whereas like, oh, that's not my thing. Like I'm not into that at all. But there are lots of people that are. And I think that's just because that's the rabbit hole that you went down when you started watching porn. And then you just develop those tastes. And that's what this is all about, educating kids on the front end so that porn, the internet, isn't what educates them and develops their tastes for what they crave sexually. So in that study, they found that things like choking, so deep throat blowjobs that led to choking and gagging and almost suffocation are actually very popular in porn videos and not really very popular until the 2000s. So it's something that didn't used to be a thing until the 2000s, and then they start introducing this stuff and people like it, so they start doing it more and more and more. Then people develop a taste for that, and that's what they like to see, and that's what turns them on, so they keep looking for the same thing. And so it's one of those, I remember seeing that. That's one of those things that in porn, like my experience with porn, I've seen those videos, and I didn't think it was that weird. Because when I was young, I just thought everything in porn was normal, like that was sex. And if you go back to your first experience, you know this. Everybody knows, like, yeah, that just seemed normal to me. And this girl who's doing the TED Talk, I'm just going to link that whole video down below too, but she's talking about how her very young clients are coming in and telling her that they're addicted or that they like certain things in porn and they don't like how they like certain things, but they can't help it, basically. And they're also coming concerned, telling her like, I'm concerned that I can't bring my partner to a screaming, raging, like hair-pulling orgasm because she's obviously not satisfied if she's not screaming at the top of her lungs. When that's not normal, like that's what's happening. You have to take a step back, and if you really stop and think about it, again, you get desensitized to think like, oh, I don't know, that's just what's normal, and you don't really stop and think like how different porn is from real sex. And so, going back to, like I said, my experience to where I thought that those like choking blowjobs, like, oh, that's normal, and women like to do that. No, they don't. Do not think that. If you're still like learning from the internet about porn yourself, it's not normal at all. Like, and you stop and you step back and think about that. Oh yeah, like that's actually kind of crazy. If you stop and think about sex in general, just sex, like the way that it was originally intended when God created a man and a woman to have sex with each other, and then you start seeing like all the stuff that's going on now, and you look at how far it's come, you're like, oh yeah, that's probably not normal, and it's probably not healthy, and probably not something that I should want in my relationship, because it's not going to be something that my partner's going to want in their relationship. She talks about choking and all this stuff like that in porn. It's become way more popular to choke a woman. I don't think that any woman that you're going to be with is going to like that. Just a heads up, that's not a good idea. And that's something that's all over the news, this rape culture and abuse of women. And I think it's pretty obvious. You just have to step back and look at these tastes that porn is developing in men and see that it's not too far of a stretch at all to think that it's directly associated, like where guys are watching porn, developing a taste, and then acting it out in real life, and then women are like, whoa, what's going on here? This is not okay. And that's why, like, I don't think it's a stretch at all. Like, it's directly responsible for a lot of what's going on in culture today. So anyway, I think that's what's important, and she talked about that too, is just basically we have to talk about sex. And she says an example of how to talk to your kids to try to make it create as little awkwardness as possible is to, talk to them in the car. She's like, well, that way you don't have to make eye contact. You can just keep driving. You have one of those car conversations, and no, that's not enough, but it's a start. If that's where you have to start and you have a few of those conversations in the car, you get more comfortable with it, and they'll start asking questions and creating a place where you can have those conversations, and it's not completely horribly awkward. Maybe it's going to be awkward, but the conversations have to be had, because we cannot trust the internet to teach young kids, to teach anybody about sex. So that's the encouraging message for the day. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.